The Peace Walls by Paula Goetz, Olivia Olson, and Mary May Vande. Due to violence between the Catholic and Protestant communities in Belfast, Ireland, peace walls were built to separate the two communities in 1969. These walls introduced a sense of security to the people in Belfast, but also directly impacted their lives. While the walls instituted temporary peace between the two groups, it also resulted in further separation and didn't encourage the Protestant and Catholics to address the real issues of violence and intolerance that caused the peace walls to be built. British rule in Ireland began in 1169 with the Anglo-Norman invasion. At this time, most Irish were Catholics, while most British were Protestants. During this time of British rule, most Irish Catholics wanted their own independence. The British rule of Ireland ended in 1937 with the Anglo-Irish War. Even after this war, Ireland did not become an independent republic until 1948. The fighting continued in Belfast and led to protests, riots, and killings. Between 1968 and 1998, a violent conflict known as the Troubles happened. The Troubles is also known as the Northern Ireland conflict and was between the Protestants, who were mainly British, and the Catholics, who were mainly Irish. The Irish Republican Army, also known as the IRA, was started as a Catholic military organization. Protestant loyalists organized a military force group that challenged the IRA to protect the Protestants. Over the next 30 years of fighting, thousands of people were killed in this violence. This conflict began as a companion to end discrimination between the Catholic and Protestants. Catholics made up about 1/3 of the population, and Protestants account for the remaining 2/3 of the population. Only taxpayers were given the right to vote in elections, which favored the Protestants and marginalized the Catholics.
In an attempt to end discrimination and conflict, hundreds of Catholics and Protestants all gathered on Duke Street in a city called Londonderry. The Protestants' demonstration was organized by the Northern Ireland Civil Rights Association and had been banned when the Catholics announced their plans for a rival march. The magnitude of the continued violence resulted in the IRA putting up barbed wire fences. Eventually, these fences turned into temporary walls. Regardless of the attempts to end the violence, the Protestants and Catholics continued to unravel any progress on making peace. In 1969, a violent act known as the Vande street burning occurred. The conflict between the two sides was very intense, resulting in much devastation. A total of 44 out of 65 houses were burned to the ground, causing the deaths of 10 people. The tragedy instilled further paranoia and resulted in 1,500 families fleeing from Ireland. After the Vande street burning, the British soldiers patrolled the streets of Belfast, and the first peace wall was approved by the Pope. The walls continued to expand because they gave residents a sense of security. In many neighborhoods, the walls are as high as buildings, constructed of steel, and located in people's backyards to protect them. The walls segregated the Catholics and Protestants, making them live as if they existed in two different worlds. Eventually, the peace walls imposed a sense of protection to the Belfast community, but never allowed the two religious sides to unite. Religion has proven throughout history to be a cause of violent conflict and without much resolution in the communities of Northern Ireland. The wall that is proposed to be built by President Trump is very similar to the peace walls in Belfast. The walls are built with little consideration of the detrimental impact it makes on equal rights and increased segregation amongst those involved.
These walls are easy to construct, but create tremendous challenges when trying to take them down. Living within these walls can negatively impact the mental health and well-being of its citizens. It restricts them from the ease of coming and going within their own community. The underlying positive reaction to the existence of the peace walls is that many residents feel protected within their own neighborhoods. Although the walls made people feel secure, it was a time of great division that could have been avoided with the government resolution amongst the Catholics and Protestants. The Good Friday Agreement, also known as the Belfast Agreement, was an agreement that initiated the end of the Troubles. It was a peace agreement intended to direct fair governing of the Catholics and Protestants. The Good Friday Agreement was official in May 1998. Various murals are now painted on the peace walls. These murals illustrate the political views of people on both sides of the conflict. While these images are important reflections of the conflict, people are uncertain whether they should be removed as reminders of the past violence and troubles. The last wall was put up in 2013. Many families residing in these areas are diverse in their religious beliefs. Some children are raised with one parent being Protestant and the other being Catholic. This diversity encourages open-mindedness and accepting varied thoughts and beliefs. Many organizations interested in maintaining peace amongst the youth realize that education and recreational activities are essential for the peaceful future of Belfast. Although there has been much improvement with the sectarian violence, unfortunately, fighting is still going on today. The walls are scheduled to come down in 2023. A poll estimates that 70% of the population wants the walls to remain, while the other 30% wants them to be taken down. Many people wonder if they will actually come down as planned. As part of a research project, we used Skype to interview a professor at Ulster University in Belfast, Ireland. Here are the important segments of this interview.
Johnny Byrne. I'm a professor here in Belfast on stuff like segregation and peace walls. So happy to help any way I can. Also stop people from different communities coming together. So they stop people mixing and meeting because you just can't, because there's a barrier between the two, and they're a sign that we aren't ready to live together because we need these walls in certain parts of the community. I find that the walls exist, and then there are problems about unemployment, and there are problems about education, and there are problems around money. So there's lots of other factors on top of this, which makes it a really, really difficult issue. And the problem is, it's easy to put walls up, but it's really, really difficult to take them down. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. So, and what happens is the people that decided to build the walls aren't here anymore. So it's not their problem. And what happened in the past and makes people. What happens in the past influences how people live their life today and in the future. But unless we break down the walls in people's minds about sharing, about what it means to be a Catholic, what it means to be a Protestant, what it means to be Irish, what it means to be British, unless we actually break down all those barriers that people have about the other side, then it doesn't matter about the physical walls. They're not important.